Hey everybody, I'm Bennett Shear, your host of American Idol Unaired. Now, it's the summertime, so I thought we needed to cool off with a blast from the past. To start off this new segment, we've got a contestant from season 1, not on ABC, on Fox. Please welcome Christina Christian.
Hi, Bennett. How are you?
I am great. It is so lovely to meet you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Lovely to meet you as well.
When's the last time you did a sit down discussing American Idol?
So I actually have been working, interviewing every week with K2 in Portland and with this, it's Good Afternoon Live with Kara. And every week I report on Idol just for this season. I really did
Oh,
not watch a lot of the seasons. And then I was asked to do something on it this season. And it's been fun because this season is incredible. Like,
yes.
just I'm blown away by the talent.
This will be released pretty soon after the winner's announced. So I'm curious who you think will win because we'll know the winner by the time this episode's coming out.
The top three that's in right now, I knew that they were going to be at the top. I do feel Megan has a really good chance, but I feel that EM has the following for sure. I mean, the marketing, like I'm following American Idol, like they have pushed his marketing really heavily. And I think from his first video he made from his audition, like was just that captivated people from the start. So, I would love to see, honestly, Megan take it. I think out of the three, she has the most identifiable voice. But I do think EM has the following. And I just love Colin. I think Colin is amazing. And he's growing in his artistry. He's growing in who he is. And I'm looking forward to seeing his career flourish. Oh,
Yes, of course. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard, but they just released new singles, actually the top five. So two who were sent home. They worked with some of the industry's hottest producers and put out some music. Megan has a single, EM has a single, and Colin and all of them. I think they're really good.
so I have not listened to them yet. This week has been a crazy week for me, but I did see that Colin put one out. And I didn't hear Megan's yet. So I'm gonna definitely take a listen. I love that they're doing that, by the way. Like that, I mean, just to see how the show has transformed. And, yes, it's different being on ABC than it was on Fox. But when we started, we had like no backup singers. We had nothing. We had like songs that some of us didn't even want to sing, to like really getting just a choice and being able to be a songwriter and perform your own music, which I think is incredible. That's really the part that I love, like seeing real artists come on there and, grow in so many different ways. And then Idol's allowing them to do that, I think, is wonderful.
Well, see, this is what blows my mind, right? Because 21 seasons in, they've got Idol across America. If somebody told you 21 years ago that you could log on Zoom and audition, or that, I mean, I guess they could scout talent, but just what they have going on now with the casting and that you would be getting a DM on Instagram, you'd be like, what is this? So what is going through your mind when you hear about a little show that hasn't even started yet called American Idol?
So I grew up with Star Search. I'm going to be 42, so I'm obviously a lot older than the group now. But I grew up with Star Search. We knew about like these talent programs on TV, right? And I actually had my best friend's sister was on Star Search, and it was pretty cool. But I was in college at the time and living with my husband, but then my boyfriend / fiance. And I was studying sociology and finance. I think I was one of the only ones that wasn't really looking at music. I had like sung for the Miami Heat, like done like the national anthem 5 or 6 times. And, I was in musical theater and I used to perform like pop rock stuff in high school, but never really thought about music truly as a career. And then one day we're watching TV and my husband's like, oh my God, I just saw this commercial that there's going to be the show American Idol. And he's like, they're doing it in Miami. And it was Mother's Day weekend, I think. So we were going to be down in Miami because that's where I was from. He's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I went there and I actually auditioned with an Alanis Morissette song. It's her secret song, and Think Twice by Celine Dion. And then Nigel Lithgow, who I'm friends with, was like, can you just do this for me for TV? And I was like, what? Like, they gave me like a piece of paper. He like wrote it down and it was like just caught off guard. And I was so nervous. I'm like, what am I doing? So like they ended up showing that as my audition, but it wasn't actually, my audition. And that was really, I think, my first taste into like, it's reality TV, but it's not reality. But it was awesome. I mean, it was tough for us. Like, I'm sure you've heard like the first season, I mean, we didn't have a chef. We had to do everything. So we weren't sleeping. We weren't eating right. You know, we bought our own clothes. Like we did our own makeup. Like it was a completely different show. It was kind of like, you know, we call it our like fraternity or sorority. It was really a tough time, but it grew us in ways I think that like none of us expected.
Didn't they put you in a pretty nice house though, right? Together, living like once you got to the live shows.
Yeah, no, it was a nice house. But again, it wasn't glamorous. I wouldn't say like there was no true glamour in our season. I think that came about like, I think it was the second or third season where they were like, they got a chef. I had gotten sick and then somebody else got sick on the second season. And then they had to bring in like a personal chef and like things started changing. And then I think they started using like hotel rooms for people, like getting them their own hotel rooms throughout the season, which is actually honestly better because you don't have that extra mental stress. Like all of a sudden you're thrown into a situation where you're living with people and you're competing with them and you have no privacy. Right. So it was definitely different. We talk about it often. Like I'm still friends with, you know, all of them. Obviously Nikki passed away, which was tough, but it was definitely a different experience for us.
Well, just taking it back to that audition, it's not like it is today because back then there weren't hundreds of thousands of people trying to get on this hit television show. Nobody knew what it was going to be. You mentioned Star Search because you were familiar with that and because you kind of, you know, were privy to the idea of a singing competition show. Was there sort of that excitement like, oh, this is going to be big and I have to take this opportunity because of what I know it can be?
Yeah, and I think we had an idea, like, I mean, the internet was around, so we looked at they had Idol in UK, like like
Pop Idol?
Idol or something like that. So we looked that up and I did see that like the artist had done really well and Simon Fuller, who, you know, managed I forgot what was their names, Spice Girls. So like, I'm like, okay, these people actually have industry knowledge. It's not like something random that's coming. So I trusted that aspect of it. But it was really like, I like to just try different things. I'm like that person, like, hey, why not? Let's do this. You know, if I fail, I fail. If I grow, I grow. Like it's always, you know, I felt like it would be something positive in my life, which it really was.
Any memories about either being in line or being in the holding rooms? Because on American Idol Unaired, whether it's the unaired contestants I interview or the people that do get on TV, you know, they talk about like waiting days and days to actually meet the judges. And as you said, they didn't even show your main performance. So what's on TV is just like cut down, but you're probably there for days at the audition, getting to know people, doing interviews and stuff behind the scenes, right?
That definitely, I think, was a fun part of it. Honestly, like talking to the other people that were there to audition, like our line, we waited the whole day. We didn't have days and days. Like it was one day. And I think there was 1,000 people in line in Miami. It was crazy. But we ended up, once we got into the building, I think it was at the Fontainebleau, if I'm remembering correctly. It's so long ago. There were rooms, like there were steps before you even got to the judges. Like you had to audition for, you know, lower level producers and the higher level producers. Like, so you had all these steps to audition first before actually getting in to go into the judges. So we had, I think it was like a set of producers before Nigel Lithgow. And then we auditioned for Nigel and then we were able to get through. But during those times, you're with these, you know, other talented artists and like practicing and singing songs. It reminded me of like theater camp, honestly, like where you're just having fun and singing and like, you know, helping each other kind of come out of their shell and get comfortable. So that part was really cool. What I've seen, you know, the behind the scenes that I've seen on, you know, this season, it seemed a lot more quiet. Like everybody's sitting around, whereas we had like, truly, it was like, you know, backstage at theater or like you're at, you know, stage crew or whatever. You're just having a good time with a bunch of people. Again, like performing just all these different songs, right? So that part I loved.
And it's not like you get your one-on-one go into a room with the producer yourself. It's like you're with all these other people and it's like, sing for me, sing for me, sing for me in front of everyone.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly how it was. It was like this song. And then they're like, oh, can you try this type of genre? Like, you know, they mix it up on you as well. So it was fun. It was a fun process, definitely nerve-wracking for all of us that were involved in it. But, you know, for the ones of us that made it through, it was great.
Yeah, and then when you finally make it to the judges, that must have been really interesting because again, trimming that down to isn't he lovely about Simon. We didn't see the previous performance, and I'm also wondering if there was some dialogue going on, if you had a fun conversation with them that we didn't see as well.
I had already made it to Hollywood before I did that
Oh
Simon.
wow,
That was just seriously like just made for
yeah.
TV, and I was like, oh, do I really need to do that? I honestly didn't want to do it, which is probably why I was like so nervous. I'm like, this is not me at all, you know. But it was a TV moment.
But getting the golden ticket again, it's just they were making it as it happened that first season. So it's not like of course the golden ticket seemed cool, but you don't get that ticket and think, oh my gosh, I've seen this on TV. This ticket is like this big thing. You're part of that first group. You're kind of making history.
Yeah, and they did keep telling us that. They were like, look, we know that this is going to work. We're seeing like this. This show will go on. And they kept telling us that, like, you guys are the first, you're making history, like you're going to create this show. So it wasn't, again, like we didn't get to sleep in, like we would wake up, after Hollywood. And when we got into the top 10, it's like, you're waking up at 2:00 in the morning because you have to go do, news interviews, and you're not having any time to sleep because the show is just budding. Right. So like we're promoting the show, all of us, every day that we were there. So it was definitely a real education in how these shows are made, how they're created, how they're grown. We got to witness a lot of that, which was really cool.
Now, since you did make it to Hollywood, obviously, and make it all the way to the top 6, the contestants now and every year, they always say, I mean, I think that's the one constant with this show is like they can tweak the format and that it can grow and they can have different judges, but Hollywood week is always very intense. So for you, what do you remember about experiencing it?
The intensity. I mean, that was tough. I'm not gonna lie. That was a very hard time because it all of a sudden got serious, right? And you went from like having fun and like the first sets of auditions to, oh shit, like I need to get on the top 10. And so for me, I remember I was with Kelly and I like met and got along from then, like, and we would, practice together. And I just remember like she opened her mouth and I'm like, my God, she was performing in LA prior to that. So she knew that this is what she wanted to do. And I thought that was admirable too. Like a lot of the people that were there ended up being in the top 10 were people that wanted to do music. Like that was like, this is what I want to do. This is my life. So for me, it was very different because it's just like, oh, I used to do it, like, did it for fun. And like, and I was learning from them and seeing what it takes to get there and seeing their dedication. And that was inspiring. And I think that helped me through Hollywood. Like, okay, Christina, you got to take this seriously. Like, this isn't a joke anymore. Like, you see how she's doing it, you got to take it seriously. And so you saw people like hone in. And then it was hard too, because people that you thought were really good went home in Hollywood, right? And you really felt, it was the first time you really felt the competition hit you, like the downside of it, where like, oh my God, you just became friends with these people and now they didn't make it. So it was a lot. It was definitely a lot of emotions all at once, plus this like feeling of competition. Like, I just feel like I just got serious, like going back to it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was definitely a stressful time.
This may put you on the spot because I know how long ago it was, but since this running theme of this podcast is mainly meeting the unaired contestants, do you remember any really talented singers that never got to be on screen for season 1 that you met at auditions or Hollywood?
I can't remember their names.
There had to be a lot of people that just never got
There
shown.
was a guy there in Miami, and I wish I remembered his name because I could see his face, and I was stunned that he didn't make it through. Like I was so shocked because his voice was just incredible. But he was, a guy of color trying to do rock. And at the time, and I'll say, like, honestly, when I did Alanis Morissette, like that's what I did. And I sang, I would sing like Celine Dion or whatever, but I wasn't an R&B singer. And they had told me at the time, well, you have to do this genre. And that was very tough for me because that wasn't what I did. And I think because they were typecasting at the time, they didn't let him through. He was one of the ones that I was stunned that he didn't get through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alanis, you have been covering this season. So what did you think of Alanis as a judge?
I was so jealous of, like, I was said to my husband, I'm like, I freaking sang an Alanis song.
Uh,
Jagged Little Pill was like my favorite album ever. And her getting to be on there, I was so jealous of the contestants, but I thought she was good. I thought it was really cool to see how they interpreted her songs. Some that sounded the same. And then other ones like Megan changed hers a bit, and so did Ian. And I thought that was really interesting just to see them done a different way. But I thought she was a great judge.
how do you think this current panel that we had on ABC compares to your panel that we had on Fox?
So I really like the set of judges. I think Katy Perry is very honest and blunt, which I think is great. Luke Bryant, he's a sweetheart, but he is also very honest. And Lionel, I think to have Lionel Richie up there, he's just incredible songwriter, incredible singer. Like, he's been around for so long. When he tells you, you're great, or you have what it takes to be in this business, I think that is such a huge compliment from somebody that's been around for 50 years, like, and is still relevant and is still doing a great job. I think it's should give these kids a lot more confidence than any other thing in their lives. Like, you have this great, Hall of Famer telling you how great you are. And I think they force people to rise, right? They're very big about pushing them and seeing what else they can do. And I do like that.
So Randy, Paula, Simon, man, they were together for so many years. And I'm sure whether they're stories or just memories that you have from working with them, I mean, what do you remember about meeting them?
All of them were great. I mean, I think I clicked with Simon really well. I think Simon, for me, he would tell me when I was having a bad day or like I had a bad performance, he was straight out about it, and I love that. But he'd also give you confidence. Like, when I made it onto the top 10 and I sang at last, like, he was like, that was fantastic, and like, he was straight out about things, very open and sweet. Like, he was not the cruel guy. He really got emotionally invested into a lot of a lot of the relationships that we've had on the show. Randy, I thought was neat, but I think he was a bit surface, he didn't truly get close to a lot of us. Paula stayed in contact with a lot of us, and she was definitely emotionally invested. But I think the realest one, the most authentic at that time, at least for me, was Simon.
That might surprise people because they think that somebody who comes across as this harsh guy on TV would be the least invested, right?
Yeah, and he definitely wasn't.
Wow.
Most, I would say.
As somebody who has aspirations to get into TV, working behind the scenes, producing, writing, I am interested if you want to tell us a little bit about working with the producers and people who are behind the scenes, because Nigel and Debbie and
Patrick,
who's still there.
And we're still Facebook friends and we'll communicate and whatever. And Patrick was like our dad. I mean, honestly, I think he was so authentic. So I think authenticity is huge. And especially in Hollywood, where there are people that tend to not be. I think the ones that are authentic are the ones that last, right? Debbie is amazing. I'm still close with her. Susan Slammer, who is there on the show as well. They were just so helpful. I mean, not everybody on the show was. We had a stage manager that would make, weird comments. And I was like, let me stay away from that one. But Debbie, Patrick, they all made us feel welcomed. They made it feel like home. They were just, you really felt that they were there for you. So I think one of the biggest things, if you want to make it and you want people to remember you, and that's, I think, why Patrick is still there, is because he was such a genuine person. The contestants just love him because of who he is, and the rest of the cast, and the crew do as well. He's really genuinely there to help you and to make you better. And Nigel was great. I mean, to see what he can do, and learning more about who he was and what he's done before. It's great to see him flourish in his career. I mean, he had a career prior to Idol, in the UK, and just to see what he's been able to do in the US as well. I mean, it was truly a pleasure to get to know him, to work with him over the years.
Especially as you guys made it onto those live shows, but even before, the interesting rounds were the top 30 shows, where it wasn't fully live. You had the live result shows, but that's what kind of trained you for live TV, right? Because you're in a small room, you're still pre-recorded the voting shows. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was nerve-wracking. We need to walk on stage and do all of that. I do think though, pre-recording it was a little bit easier for me. Like having the first time like performed live on that stage was difficult for me because I'm like, oh my God, you cannot mess up. Your nerves like take over. And I wasn't somebody that was used to performing. I mean, literally I was at University of Florida in Gainesville, like again, studying sociology and finance. So for me, this world was completely different. And so I was like, shoot, I'm getting educated really quickly. It was just an incredible experience. Like just going back there right now in my head. I wish I was healthy though, I will say throughout the show. I hated that I wasn't healthy and I didn't know why at the time. So I think that was the hardest part for me going through the show.
Mm-hmm. Now just the experience of getting to know the contestants and bonding, I'm sure that like we talk to the contestants now, as the numbers go down, it's like you get even closer with everybody, right? Because that bond closes in.
And it's crazy how fast I feel like this season went. And I haven't compared it, but I feel like our season was longer.
Yeah.
And so we had more time and, they're real tears when people went home. Like you're living with these people. And I don't think they don't live together now.
Hotel rooms.
Right. So we were like living roommates. Like we went through all these, there were fights, there were arguments, there were, good times, bad times. Like we went through all of that together. And then we were with each other a lot longer. And I think that like caused our bond to be even stronger.
You also said that being around all these other people kind of inspired you and motivated you. So amongst all of this competitiveness was probably just excitement to be enthralled in this sort of musical community, right? All these other talented people.
Yeah, no, it was really special. And I mean, Tamara and I are still very, very close. Jim and I are very close. I mean, super, super close. They're some of my rocks in my life. But Tamara and I like didn't really get close till we were on tour. So for some of us, it's TV. They would want to like pin you against one another. I know Nikki and Ryan had that. And that was really producer driven. They wanted that dynamic. And I think, it was kind of like the real world dynamic to kind of make some spicy fire happen for TV. But then going on tour, and are they still going on tour? I don't know.
No.
Oh my God. So then I would say like we really had a special time because the 30 city tour that we did, like we got to experience that life together, so not only just the show, but like, okay, we didn't all make it to number one, but we all got to experience this wonderful result afterwards together, which was really cool. And I think that helped really bond us for life. I mean, during COVID, we all got together. Justin actually put it together. Jim put it together privately first. And Justin's like, oh, we should probably do this publicly. Let's see if anybody wants to, to join. And we had a great time just talking to everybody. And we were so happy that we did do it because Nikki ended up passing after that. So it was a great time for people that were fans of the show to be able to talk to all of us. Justin like interviewed us and we were able to talk to each other and then just stay reconnected with them that we might not have been able to, stay in touch with over the years.
I'm curious if you have any memories that you want to share of some of these contestants, because you've got life on the road, you've got life on the show. And I just want to say, because it was obviously devastating when we heard about Nikki, and I'm sure, if there are any stories you want to share, I know that was tough, but you guys all spent a lot of months together.
We did. Nikki was she's always been a straight up person. She was always who she is. And I loved her voice. Like I love country and I like rock. So for me, she was just incredible. And what I admired about her is she had a child very young, but it didn't stop her from like truly going after what she wanted in life. And I know that she had a hard life. Things were tough. But she was always a good person. Like she had such a big heart. And that's what I always remember about her. She's just very authentic.
And the legacy actually continued with her son. I believe Tristan's his name. He auditioned on season 13 and she was there with him.
Oh, I saw that. And he was such a cute little kid. He was so sweet. And he's grown, to such a beautiful young man. I know. I hope he continues. I think he's still playing music, if I'm not mistaken. I know he plays guitar and he performs. So I'm hoping that he continues that. I was hoping that he would have gone further.
So many friends. I have to ask what you remember specifically about Kelly Clarkson, because just to see, I mean, she's putting, I don't know what album now just came out, but
Kelly, so Kelly and I were actually pretty close throughout the show. I just used to remember like hearing her just open her mouth and sing and just like sit there in awe. But one of the times, both of her parent, I think it was her mom, came into town and my mom came into town. And at that time during Idol, we weren't allowed to see our family. Like while we were on the show, they weren't allowing us to see our family. And Kelly and I threw a fit. We were like, we will not go on. Kelly was like, I will not go on that stage unless you let me go see my mother.
wow.
And we, I was like, okay, Kelly, I'm with you. I'm not gonna go on stage either. Like, we did it, and she got it done. They got us the limo. They sent us to our family. And we were able to do that. And like, I just knew like I knew she was going to be successful because not only was she extremely talented, but she was not afraid to demand what she wanted. And you need that for, a career in Hollywood.
Justin, Broadway, helping and mentoring other performers, being in commercials,
coaching. Yeah, he's done a really good job. Like he's always been like, this is what he wanted to do. And I love that he found a way to truly do it and follow his dream and impact others' lives. And his kids seem really artistic. So it's just fun to watch everybody grow. Tamara's done a great job too. And she's raising, amazing kids. Her husband is Sam Waters from Color Me Bad. I don't know if you remember that group, but he's also like a huge songwriter and producer, and they just have a beautiful life, and they still get to work and perform. So it's great to see that people are still following their dreams and making a living at it.
Fans got so invested because they were like, what's the finale matchup going to be? And they're like, could she win the whole thing? Could Kelly win? Because everybody's so talented. And I remember the same for you, because once you get down to that top, especially 10, could it be anyone?
Yeah. I mean, you can always have a bad performance. I had a bad performance. I had great ones. The one when House Is Not a Home, I was like, please, like she's just incredible. I think, but we also knew who had like the following. And Kelly, I think once she did Natural Woman, she had the votes. So you kind of knew it was going to be Kelly, like being, even when being on the show, we kind of knew it was going to take it.
I was watching your performances. I also watched the results show where you left, and I'm thinking, what a difference to see them drag out the 20 minutes to a 3-minute result show within the same episode as the performances.
3 people going home. I was in shock, like how they do it, or how they did it this season. And I don't know, like this is the first season I've watched in a really long time. So I don't know if this has been the format for like the last couple of seasons on Fox, but I was shocked that moved so quickly.
I think it kind of represents the state of the world that we're in today with instant gratification, because it's like people with scrolling on social media and like wanting everything so fast. I know the fans complain about it, but it's like maybe the producers feel that, people are impatient. And so we're going to give them the performances and the results in one show and cram everything in. But I know people miss what they had on your season, and for honestly most of the years on Fox, which is give everybody the closure. I mean, let's talk about your results episode, because you weren't there in the studio, but we really had a chance to have some closure, because Ryan and Brian, they interviewed every contestant. They didn't just send you home. They're like, Tamara, what do you think? Justin, what do you think?
I physically could not go on.
Yeah.
No, it was, I had lost 12 pounds and I was already very thin, and I was sick throughout the show, and they tried, like, I remember I had lost my voice going into like one of the first or second live shows. And I was like, this is just not going to work. And I didn't know, obviously at the time, that I had Sjogren's, and what Sjogren's does, especially in a very dry climate like California. And I was on like allergy medication that we didn't know, exacerbated my situation. I was losing my voice. It was like, they were like, Nigel's like, what's wrong? Like you were doing this like backstage, and 2 days later, like you can't hit that note. I'm like, I have no idea. So I did get I think they got me like a cortisone shot, a steroid shot. Didn't work. And I was just, my body was just breaking down. I just, at the time had no idea. I've learned so much about how to control it over the years, but that day I couldn't move. Like I was so severely dehydrated that the ambulance, like they had to pick me up to take me to go because my body was just like not working.
If you guys watch season 1, you remember it's top 6, I believe, big band week, right?
Yeah. I sang The Glory of Love.
I know people were shocked. I could hear it in the room. Randy was not happy. I remember that.
Yeah. And I felt bad because RJ was one of my close friends and I know he had like forgotten words or something like that. But I was like, listen, I couldn't even come back to perform the week after. Like I needed to rest and find out like what was going on and get some medicine. And, but even during that performance, and I think Simon had said something, he goes, during my performance, he could tell that I was weak. Something was wrong. And I was trying to give everything, but I looked back and I was like, I was so frail.
Yeah. I'm just so curious what it was like to watch from the hospital bed. Or did they tell you beforehand that you were going home?
They told me beforehand. Yeah. And I honestly felt relief. I wasn't upset. Like I was like, I knew it because I was feeling it it was a couple weeks. Like I just wasn't feeling great. And I was losing all this weight. I went down to 98 pounds and I'm close to 5'5". So that's a little bit too thin, and I just couldn't get a handle on it. Like, and obviously like they don't, it's like, it's not my doctors. It's like whoever can try to figure out what's going on. And I had to keep going. And now I know, like once I got diagnosed and like over the last 10 years, it's like, if I don't sleep, if I don't eat properly, my body immediately gets affected. Right. So like, it's very important. And I think there's so much out there now on nutrition and all this information out there now that people are very aware, but these are things that we didn't know about back then. And I didn't know that I had this illness. But I did know, like when they came and told me, it was like the psychiatrist for our show came to the hospital and he let me know. And I go, this is actually a big relief for me. Cause I know I need healing. Like it was hard, and then like when I was on tour and I was healthy and people were like, oh my God, she sounds so different. And like, where'd this voice come from? And I'm like, this is who I was like, but I knew it that like I had my vitamin B12 shots and we were eating differently. I mean, we had everything catered on tour for us. It was a completely different experience. And I knew I was like, I have to take care of myself. Like, and so it was totally different then, but it is what it is. Like I knew in my heart, I wasn't upset. I didn't cry. Like I was like, and I wanted people were being mean to RJ, like the comments and stuff. I'm like, he's a fantastic person. He did nothing wrong, and that's why I had come back. I think I came back the next week or something to support the show. And to like, let everybody know that I'm okay. There were reports that I died, or I think there was something that was like, I had Simon's baby or something. I was like, there's so many different reports that came out and like the Inquirer and the news. I was like, this is just craziness.
May I ask, was the whole bit about Simon saying like, I think I have a crush, was that a little bit produced or do you know?
I had no idea he was going to say that. So like, I remember my face, like seeing my face after like on the show, like, I was caught so off guard.
Yeah.
Joe was that when he said it.
I don't remember which episode, but it was the running theme because it started with the audition, Isn't He Lovely? And then throughout the rounds, he kept pounding on, it just seemed like a running shtick.
Oh yeah. And then they said something about my fiance, who's now my husband.
But, oh yeah, I remember that. He's like, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, people were upset about that. I feel like people were like, oh, you shouldn't say that she's engaged and all of that. I'm like, this is crazy. But yeah, show business.
Yep.
It's fun to go back and think about it because I don't do that very often, I'm like in the land of raising my 3 kids and, everything that they have to do. And I don't really think about, way back when very often. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me this, because I looked at your Instagram and you do so many amazing things, right? And just the description, I'm going to pull this up right now. In your profile, mom, most importantly.
Yes.
Memory accumulator, life designer, singer, author, health junkie, real estate investor, tech executive, student of life, and light giver. That is an amazing profile. I didn't even know that Instagram would let you use that many characters in a profile, but whatever you want to break down, let's talk about everything that you've accomplished since American Idol.
I think that my biggest accomplishment is my 3 kids, just raising my 3 children.
Yes.
My eldest, Hayden, is turning 18 in December, which is just crazy to me. And he's getting ready for his senior year. My middle, Connor, he's going into 8th grade. He's going to be 13 this summer. And my youngest, Natalia, it just turned 11 in February, and she's going into 6th. So our lives are truly busy. I call myself a life designer because I do believe you can design your life any way you want it to be. I believe in manifesting. I believe that since I was a kid. I was luckily taught by my grandmother and my dad, and they're very much people that have said, like, whatever life you want to live, you have to believe you can live it first and see it and plan for it and execute on that. So that's how I say, like, to me, manifesting, like, I think it gets lost in translation a lot of times. People are like, oh, I can just imagine myself doing it. No, that's one part of it. But like, you have to imagine yourself, see yourself every day, and really plan and work towards that. I am in tech. Both my husband and I are in tech. And then we like to invest in real estate on the side. And so we've flipped homes and, like renovated homes, rented those out. That's part of our thing that we do. I'm an author. I did publish a children's book called I Believe in Me. Do you believe in you? I wrote it originally for my eldest son when he was 2.5, like way back when. And then finally, like, found a great illustrator and put it out on my own, self-published just this past year. I have a second one coming. So I'm using my creativity in that way. I would sing a lot, actually, with like bands after, just to have fun and keep going with it. But my middle son, Connor, is a singer, and he plays a bunch of instruments. So we're able to, like, at least still live in that part of the world with him, which is great. I don't think he wants to perform. At least he's like, I don't want to be on the stage. He just he plays piano, alto sax. He, now he wants to play bass guitar. Like, he thinks music all the time. So yeah, I mean, that's who I am. And light giver, be the light. I always believe you should give out good energy, right? Do unto others as you want done unto you. Like, so it's a big part of who I am, is like just being good to people.
That's the most inspiring "what have you been up to since" that I've ever heard. Seriously, Christina. By the way, so your kids, what do they think? If they've seen, I'm sure tons of clips over the years of you. I'm sure that's pretty wild for them.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, people still get, like, I think we were getting off a plane and someone's like, Christina from American Idol. And they were like looking at me like, Mom, for real? And I'm like, oh my God, that was so long ago. But it was a flight attendant, and that, so they still kind of get like all shocked about it. And they saw, I think it was a CSI episode was on TV, and they saw me in it, and they were like, Mom, is that you? Like, it's still shocking them. But I'm Mom, like they saw their dad on TV with me too, because I mean, we're going on 24 years together. We're celebrating 20 years of marriage next January. So they love, and what my eldest has said, you guys have stayed together through all this. You've done all these crazy, interesting things, and you guys have stayed together and been together this long. So I think they love that we allow them, we push them to explore life, and they've seen that their mother has done that, and their dad's done it too, but like Mom's really like just gone after things, and they know that it's okay to go after things themselves.
What a beautiful message to send to families out there, right? And you raised them with such positive vibes. Even you just showed me your sign that said relax little. To be able to have a home where you have signs like that, I mean, there must be just positive energy radiating throughout your whole house just to grow up like that. There's been so many adventures, it sounds like, throughout your life, your husband's life, and everything that's to come with your kids. I mean, I'm just so happy for all of you.
Thank you. I mean, look, we're parents too, right? Like, our kids get in trouble. We've yelled, we've screamed. I think the reminders are good because, like, relax a little. I just wrote like a post about it because like it's hard for me to relax. So I need like signs that tell me to, and like reminders to tell me to just like, hey, you can chill, you can calm, you can be good to yourself and take time for yourself, which has always been really difficult for me because I've worked literally since I was 14. So I'm like always on the go. But yeah, I mean, we try to create an environment that's peaceful, that's zen. as much as we can, because I feel like the world is just so chaotic, right?
Yeah.
Can be at times. And I think it's knowing that there's nothing, no one's perfect. I'm not a perfect mother. My husband's not a perfect husband. I'm not a perfect dad. I'm not a perfect wife. My kids, no, like I try to tell my kids perfection does not exist. You just have to try every day to find balance in your life, right? You're not going to be happy every day. Some days you're going to be sad, and you have to recognize that that's okay, because there's other days that you will be happy. And you just have to try and pursue the things that you want to pursue, and try not to be afraid to do that. So I'm hoping that like we're teaching them to not have fear and to build that narrative of belief in themselves that they can go after anything that they want to.
Mm. And the world's changed so much since season 1 of American Idol. With social media, we see things and think we have to live up to this sort of perfection that isn't perfection, but kids see these influencers and think they have a perfect life and that we have to mimic that, right? And that's not the case.
No, and we tell them all the time, and my husband and I both work in tech, so we're constantly talking to our kids about the technology that's out there and showing them like this. Anybody can say they're doing something. They can change the background. They can do whatever. They can make up videos that aren't even real. AI is just going to enhance all of that. So I try as much as possible to show them like how fake something is, right? And to use like my Instagram, I print out all of our pictures in like little books. So that's when I say memory accumulator, is because that's like my scrapbook. So constantly like giving them the information for themselves, like at home, to say like, this is what we've done. This is your real life, right? And try to just be real with it, that they know that like what mom's tracking on Instagram is our actual real life. And this I can do, and I can utilize social in that way, because I don't think some people say like all social is bad. I don't believe that. I believe there is a way to connect with people, and it's how you utilize something. So I'm trying to teach them that, not that it's all bad, right? It's how to decipher and how to create that authenticity in your life and find other authentic people to connect with.
I think so much of this wisdom that you're speaking could apply to American Idol upcoming singers, since we know the show's coming back for another season. If you want to continue, what do these kids need to be thinking about as they are living in the moment and experiencing this roller coaster of competing on American Idol?
I think try to ignore the negative as much as possible. And it's hard not to read people's comments, but I think ignoring the negative as much as possible throughout the process is what you should focus on, and staying true to yourself. Like, just be your authentic self and ignore the naysayers, because these people don't have the naysayers and the negative comments. They don't have the courage to do what you're doing, which is why they're spewing stuff out on these social platforms. And just to ignore them. Really don't let that cloud you and influence the way that you move, right? Stay true to yourself. And you see that with like Ian, like he is who he is, regardless of what, genre they want him to sing. He makes it his own. I think Megan does that very well too. I've seen where Colin got shaky at times where he didn't stay true to who he wanted to be. And when he's most comfortable is when he stays true to himself. So that truth and that authenticity, I think, gets you through the show and gets you through life. Staying away from the negative is always a benefit, not only for the show, but throughout life as well.
Well, hey, no matter what happens, I'm pretty sure that they're never going to make these contestants do what they did on your season, which is sit there in that red room on that computer and film you reading the comments. Remember that?
Awful. Like I hate that. I didn't like that part.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Nope.
I think that tops whatever produced moments they had with you and the judges or you in the audition room. I can't imagine. Those tears look pretty real.
Yeah. No, that wasn't the part that was cool for me. And I think, again, I'll give them a pass, because way back when we didn't realize the mental anguish that it can cause people and what things can become. And I tried really hard to like ignore certain things and like people to know what I was going through, right? Like, I'm not going to tell everybody I'm going through being sick. So it is really difficult. And that's why for me, it's like the advice that I have is ignore that, like stay so far away from it if you can, and just focus on your truth and what you want to, provide to the audience.
Wow. Well, Christina, it was really fun having this blast from the past. And I got to tell you, going all the way to season 1, I've been waiting for a moment like this.
Good plug. Good plug. Good song, wasn't it? Like it really.
Yeah.
I killed it. So no, thank you so much. This is fun. I enjoyed going down memory lane.
Me too. We want to make sure that we follow everything that's coming for you in the present and the future. So where can we follow you online?
So my author page is Christina Christian Siwi. Siwi's my married name. But then Be the Light 21 is my Instagram, my personal Instagram family journey.
Kind of like 21 years since American Idol, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
Well, 21's my birthday. So June 21st. Birthday, so that's the 21 for me.
And am I correct that you were 21 when you auditioned for American Idol?
I was 20, about to turn 21. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. We have tons of interviews with current contestants and past contestants. We're just trying everything here, so I'm having a lot of fun. And Christina, it was such a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well, Bennett. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.